Hi there, this is Dawn with Advice Chicks, and I am very excited today to be talking with Mike and Natalie Hixson, and they own Entrepreneur Kids Academy that teaches and equips kids with the tools to start their own businesses, which I think is such a really neat idea for future generations. And so I'm thrilled to hear their story and share it with you. So without further ado, hi there, Mike and Natalie, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Doing great. Hi.
Good, good. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today and tell everybody about what you do and about your story. And can you tell us a little bit about Entrepreneur Child's Academy, Kids Academy, excuse me?
Yeah, so we really started the academy based out of our own need to or desire to teach our own kids about entrepreneurship and starting a business and that kind of thing. And it's kind of funny how it all started because we homeschool our girls. And so Natalie wanted to put together a curriculum to teach our kids about business and entrepreneurship, and we were working on this other online business together, and she had this idea and she wanted to start that, and she said, Mike, would you help me do that? And I'm like, no, I'm too busy on this other thing over here. And you can just do that yourself. And so then we were at a mastermind and talking about that, and that came up, and everybody in that group said you really need to develop that idea, because we had shared it on Facebook or Natalie had that she was working on that. And so then we kind of looked at each other and said, should we try to make something out of this? And so that's really where Entrepreneur Kids Academy came from, was out of our own desire to teach our kids, and it just grew from there. So.
Well, I think it's such an amazing tool that you're offering for future generations, because I think that, and I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there that can relate, that coming up in my generation, we were taught one formula. It was to go to school and get a degree, and that was really the only way, or at least that was the way it was in my house. And so I think that it's so important, because I always had that entrepreneurial spirit, and I actually come from a long line of entrepreneurs. So I think it is so important to teach kids that there is, I don't want to say another way to school, because this is school, really. It is training. But it's so important to teach kids that there is another way of learning. So is this kind of giving them an alternative, or is it like a supplemental thing to school? What do you feel about that?
Definitely a supplement to school. It's not going to teach them the core basics that they need, like history, math, English, that kind of thing. It's what it will teach them, though, is basically life lessons that we don't need to wait till we're out of high school or college to learn. It's not that we need to be 18, 19, 20 to start our first businesses and start learning the lessons that you learn as an entrepreneur. We can start teaching those now, and those are, to me, more valuable than anything that they learn in school as far as my kids are concerned. I want them to learn how to talk to people and communicate well. I want them to learn that failures are not failures, or you're not losers. You're lessons. You're learning lessons. I want them to learn how to manage money properly. In today's society, when we have such a, what's the word? We want what we want, and we want it now. There's no waiting for it. I want them to learn how to deal with that, and that we can manage things better.
Sometimes it takes hard work to get what you want, and really it's kind of like, I remember thinking in school myself, when am I ever going to use this? So if we start teaching about entrepreneurship now, they really start to get the picture of, oh, here's the practical use behind learning this math problem. Here's the practical use behind learning how to write and communicate and that kind of stuff. So it's really the why behind all of the education that they're getting, and they start to feel that and understand that.
And then we have more forward thinking as well, where we're thinking, what can I do to add to society, not what am I going to sit here and wait for society to add to my life. So when you're actively starting your own business and figuring out, we teach kids, how do you find your idea?
How do you find a problem in the world around you that you can solve?
Right, solution.
Absolutely. One of the most valuable things that I've seen come out of it is kids learning to think of others, not themselves.
Well, and it really begs the question because I know that I've always kind of had that entrepreneurial spark, and so I was kind of, I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like most entrepreneurs can agree with that. It takes a special type of person, and it really sometimes can be against the grain. It's outside the box. It's thinking outside the box, and so I think it's really great that you're kind of giving these kids an alternative to say, you know, there's nothing wrong with you if you don't fit inside this little mold, right? So it really fosters the innovation and the problem solving, like you're saying, and gives them that out. And it begs the question, you know, if I had had something, because of course I'm sitting here wishing, man, I wish something like this would have been around when I was a kid or a teenager. And it begs the question, do you think that kids, given this alternative, might figure out, it took me a lot longer to kind of find my way as an entrepreneur because I was always going against the grain. I wonder if it gives kids the alternative that they need to kind of figure things out earlier. And is there any research kind of that you guys know about that kind of supports that?
I don't know that we have any actual scientific research. We just kind of have the on-the-ground talking to parents about it. And one of the big things that we find is that, for example, if I'm thinking one family in particular, they have 3 boys, and one of those boys in particular is, I think he's the middle child, and he's always doing stuff different. The other 2 boys, they're like getting good grades, and they're doing stuff like they're supposed to do. But this middle child he doesn't fit that mold, like you were just saying, and so. I think in a lot of families there's that child who is like, where do I fit in? What can I do? I can't do it like my big brother does it. What's my outlet? How can I do that? And so we hear that from so many different people that they've got this one problem child, but it's not a problem. It's just that they're designed differently. They think differently, and they don't fit the mold, the traditional mold of, okay, go to school, get good grades, you gotta be an achiever, an overachiever, and then that's going to allow you to get the best job possible.
Yeah, it doesn't
work that way for everybody.
One of the things that we're trying to figure out right now is how to help parents figure out those traits in their kids, because there's definitely, personally, I think that it can be learned. Many kids out there can go through this material and they never showed any of these traits that they were possible entrepreneurs or future entrepreneurs, and they could definitely go through the material and be like, oh yeah, I really am one of these. But there are some kids out there who you're like, why are you doing this way? I don't understand. I don't get it. You know, you don't quite understand why your kids are acting or doing things differently. What are those traits that we can kind of pinpoint for parents to kind of pick up on? Oh, wait a minute. This is what they're trying to do. This is what they're trying to accomplish. How do I cultivate that for them? And where do I find the time to do that for them?
Well, and it's learning the tools, and it sounds like that's what you guys are doing, which I could go on and on about how amazing I think that is. But let's talk about you guys for a second. Now, I'm assuming that this isn't something that you started out knowing you wanted to do. What have you done before this, and how did that kind of prepare you to get into what you're doing now?
Well, I think starting out from the beginning for us as kids, I think Natalie has always had that entrepreneurial spirit. That she didn't fit the mold. She didn't feel like. On the other hand, I was one of those kids who was always trying to get the good grades and trying to perform and that kind of stuff. So she's always been the entrepreneur, and she's kind of drugged me into that. And I've done a lot of reading and a lot of thought myself on, where do I want to be? Do I want to be a employee for somebody else and produce for somebody else, or do I want to have my own gig? And really, Natalie has really brought me into that entrepreneurial spirit over the last, since we got married. Yeah. And yeah. But I just wanted to point that out for us as kids. We weren't both entrepreneurs. It was Natalie that really had that trait.
And what did you do before you had the Entrepreneur Kids Academy?
So, going just a little bit farther back into our history, we're high school sweethearts, and I followed him to college and was like, come on, let's just get married. And so we got married, and he left college thinking he was going to do an internship, and he couldn't find one in the town that we were in. And So you sat around for a few months trying to find a job, finally found one, and the day that he left for his job, I can remember just crying and like, this isn't how I wanted it. We were supposed to have a business. We got married thinking we were in a multi-level at the moment. When we got married, we thought, okay, a year from now we're going to, be where we want to be, and that didn't pan out for us. And I just remember thinking, whatever it takes, whatever I have to do, he's got to come home and be with me. We got to do something together. And so that was kind of like the moment where I was like, I don't care what it takes, we have to find something. And so we just kind of, he got his job and worked his job, and we went through a few different jobs before.
Worked construction for a few years. So it's really been a long process and a long journey for us to be able to say, what is that practical thing look like where I can work from home, where we can do something together.
And while you were doing your job, I kind of dabbled in different different companies that you could, like multi-level and stuff that you could sell their products, thinking that maybe that was what was going to work for us. And it didn't work for us.
And just different ideas, and you started a blog, and she's always been trying to dabble in something to try to figure out something that'll catch on. And then I worked with actually her father, or her dad, for a little while. I still work with him in his financial planning business, and put together a succession plan where I can work with him and then take over the business at some point when he retires. So really, that for me has been a lot of my entrepreneurial learning process and working in that business with him. And we actually work with a lot of other business owners, so I've been exposed to a lot of different businesses and the processes and the systems and how business functions and operates, especially from the financial standpoint. But in that business, never really figured out a way, how can I do this from home? How can we do that together? So we really see that opportunity in the Entrepreneur Kids Academy to start doing something together, to teach other kids about it and have a ton of fun doing it, but to start to transition to how can we do this from home?
Well, and you're kind of to that point now, actually.
Yeah, and in my primary business, we just hired some people, and that business is growing, but my position in that business might be shrinking a little bit. So it's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting, and we never know. It's
more.
Yeah, it's scary and exciting, and all of it runs the gamut of emotions. So I totally understand. I think all entrepreneurs can. It really keeps us on the edge of our seat. But all of those pieces of our journey, in retrospect, we realize they all kind of add up to be the sum of what we are today. And what we're going through now we're going to say that again in another month or 6 months or 5 years or whatever. And one of the things that I talk a lot about is the important piece that I think that a lot of times that we don't talk about, which is self-limiting beliefs. And I often say that the number one reason most businesses fail is because of self-limiting beliefs, because we can't get out of our own way. And I think that's an important thing, and I think that we all grow up with our own self-limiting beliefs. And is that part of what you guys talk about with kids, or is this a very formulaic kind of program, or do you talk about stuff like that with kids as well?
We haven't got into specifically talking about limiting beliefs like that, but I think that at that age, where kids are thinking about starting a business, a lot of those limiting beliefs haven't really formed solidly within how they operate within their thinking. And I think that if a kid tries a business, it doesn't work out, and they give up on that and never go back to it, I think maybe some of those limiting beliefs might be formed for them later in life. But if they can start and try something, it works or it doesn't, but they learn something from that, and then they start the next thing, and then they try that, and then it works or it doesn't. Let's just say it works. They have some successes along the way, and they have some failures, but they don't let those failures stop them. They learn the lessons and then go on to a success. And if parents can really capitalize and see what's going on for the kids while they're doing that, I think the parents really have a huge opportunity to prevent some of those limiting beliefs from forming and help them have an empowered mindset where they can do what they want to do.
Yeah, they don't have to have those limiting beliefs to become better people. If we can stop some of those now, and really what we're trying to do when it comes to the whole failure or limiting beliefs aspect of things is, this isn't a thing that says you're a loser or you're a problem or you didn't do something right. It has everything to do with, you tried something, it didn't work, what can you try now? It's just a puzzle. You're figuring it out, and it's a lesson. Whereas growing up for me in school, I felt like, okay, I flunked my test. I got an F on it. If I don't keep myself going enough, I'm gonna flunk my grade. Oh, I didn't do well in that sport. I failed at that. And sure, they give you a pat on the back, and they're like, oh, you'll do better next time. Don't do this, and then you'll do better, or study harder, and you'll get a better grade. And to me, I just felt like I'm just a loser. Like, how's this supposed to make me any better? And coming into the entrepreneurial space and seeing that, wow, my failures to the people around me, because we spend so much time with entrepreneurs now, just engaging and networking and being with them. It's like a, yes, awesome, you just found out what didn't work. Now what are you going to try? And it's like an excitement instead of a, well, better luck next time. It's a totally different thing. And when you can teach your kids lessons, mistakes are mistakes are lessons.
Yep.
Failures are lessons. There's no such thing as a loser. It's just trying new things. It's huge, and what you can do for them at 8 and what they will do when they're 20, and the things that they'll feel and feel empowered to do because they've learned that. It blows my mind to think what can happen.
Yeah, it's really a unique opportunity for parents to help their kids through this process, to help to prevent some of those limiting beliefs from forming. Because I know for me, and for Natalie also, but for me personally, I've had a lot of limiting beliefs that I've had to work through and deal with. I mean, for me to hire 2 people now in my primary business with my father-in-law, that was a huge obstacle for me to overcome, to hire people and overcome that superhero syndrome like Pat Flynn talks about on his podcast, which is, I just listened to that one, but to overcome that superhero syndrome where I can do it all myself and hire people, it was really a big thing for me to overcome that limited belief. So
yeah, I also see too that, because we've talked and interviewed with some people who are successful entrepreneurs now, and they started businesses when they were kids, you see how that worked for them and how they got over that so much quicker, and they're so successful now because they didn't let those things, they were successful sooner, let's put it that way, because they didn't let those things affect them because they got over them quicker. They got desensitized to that feeling of, I can't do it.
Right, and just offering, even without talking about it, I think just the practice of what you guys are doing and offering this program for kids is in itself setting them up for, like you said, not developing the self-limiting beliefs, or maybe it's not that they need to overcome it, but it's kind of being proactive. So I think it is really amazing, and I can't say that it's very often that I hear of a business that I think is truly unique, and this is something that I haven't really heard a lot about, and I think it is so important to be teaching our kids, because they are, the future of us. And so what do you think that your biggest obstacles in business have been, and how have you turned that into opportunities? I mean, I know the greatest opportunity is being able to pass on what you learned to the kids that come through your program, but what are those obstacles that you feel seem like they're prevalent? Is it time? Is it money? Is it the value, self-value, or acceptance? What kinds of things do you guys individually feel like have been a challenge?
Partly for me, I felt like, I know I've done this a lot. I've compared myself where I'm at to where I want to be, and I compare myself with other people, just seeing like someone who looks so successful. It looks like they were overnight success. They have everything that I'm dreaming of in a life, as far as being able to do what they want to do with their families. And thinking, well, why am I not there yet? And pushing and just being, not enjoying where I'm at in my journey, just being like, I want to be there, I want to be there. Why are we not there yet? And just pushing and pushing and pushing, and it causes a lot of stress and frustration, not just between us, but with our kids. You know, they pick up on that too. And when I was finally like, wait a minute, you got to enjoy where you're at right now and really experience this, because it may not be where you want to be, but if you don't experience this and savor where you're at, you're not going to be able to help other people, because they're going to be in the same position at some point. So your challenges have to be your lessons that you can teach others, because everybody's going to go through it when they're going through this entrepreneurial space.
And where is there? Because when you get there, it's just somewhere else. You know?
Absolutely, right?
Yeah, it's like that mirror image you see in the road that you just never, you can never reach, you know?
Right.
Once you get to that, you get to it's the next thing.
Exactly, and I finally am coming to that place where I'm like, wow, I'm feeling that sense of, you know, I'm gonna be honest, one of the biggest parts of it is, I told you when the first day that he left for his new job after we got married, I cried and I was just like, this isn't what I want. No, he has to be home. We've got to do stuff together, and he's now coming home. I mean, by next month, he'll be working his space at home. His office right now, he doesn't even have a desk because he's got people working in that space. So he's like pushed himself out. So he has to come home and work in his home office. And that's where I wanted to be. And my other dreams and aspirations, I want to travel the world with my kids. I'll never forget one of the meetings we were in with our multi-level business we were in when we were first married. They had speakers come on of people who had done really, really well in the business, and there's this one gal who came on, they've got kids, and they were homeschoolers like us, and she talked about how homeschooling and entrepreneurship has given her the freedom, her family the freedom, to travel the world and experience the other worlds around them and cultures, and really dive into that with their kids and teach them through that, not just reading about it or looking at it and researching it online, actually being there and immersing themselves in that. And I wanted that so badly, and I still do. We haven't quite got to that point yet, but I've come to this like happy place where I'm like, wow, we finally, like, I'm seeing these little successes, and you have to celebrate every single one. Every single little success you have to be excited about, otherwise you will get bogged down by this, when is it going to happen for me, instead of realizing it's happening for me and it's happening right now.
Exactly.
Really redefining that success not as a destination of some place we're going to get to, or some number that's going to be in the bank account, or some place we're going to live, or anything like that, but redefining success for us to be, we have to enjoy the journey that we're on, and we have to have a successful journey. And once we can design that journey, design the life that we want to live, then we're successful.
That is the success. Like, the success
Right.
is living the life you wanted to live.
Completely.
You know, and it doesn't mean that you have all the money in the world. It doesn't mean that you have all the time in the world. It means that you get up in the morning and you're doing things the way that you want to do them.
You're living the life you want to live now.
Yeah, and if you're in a job or kids are, you know, and they're in school and stuff, if they're in those positions at that moment, what are they doing that day to put them in the position to have that where they want to be?
Right, because otherwise it's just empty aspirations. You know, when you use the money and the, you know, accolades as your measure of success, they're just empty aspirations. And it's one of my favorite quotes that was really profound for me was, the secret to having it all is believing that you already do. And you know, it's all about a mindset, and I can so resonate with what you're saying, because I'm that same person. I just can't get there fast enough, and I'm a recovering perfectionist, you know, it's like,
yes.
And so it's so difficult, and as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, and you guys, I think it's so fantastic that you guys have each other and that you're supporting each other, and but it's still difficult when you're not on a team and somebody's not telling you what to do, and you don't have that formula, and you've got to kind of lay the groundwork for yourself. And it sounds like you guys are doing exactly what you need to do and creating this life you love. And if for the people that are watching, if you could impart one snippet of wisdom or advice, what would that be to teach them to overcome their obstacles and to keep striving for creating the life that they love?
So I would say what that has been for us is the commitment early on that we made to learning, to reading books, to working on ourselves, to self-improvement, all these things, because maybe we're not in a place personally right now where we can do all the things that we want to achieve, but we know that we're going to be able to get there because we're working on ourselves, we're working on our self-improvement, and that's been a big thing for us, and it's been a lot of hard work. We've both seen a professional psychoanalyst and have gone through processes like that to work on those things inside of us. What are the things that are holding us back? What are the beliefs that we have? Where do we want to go? How do we interact? All of these kind of things. We made that commitment to, okay, maybe we're here today, but we don't have to stay here. We can work on ourselves to, personally, I'm not saying financially or business-wise or anything like that. I'm saying ourselves personally, inside our own heads. How do we change ourselves to get to where we want to go personally? And that was really a commitment that we made early on, is to do that, so that would be my one piece of advice.
I guess, yeah, and I guess for me it's just I wear my heart on my sleeve, and when I hear something like believe it, vision it, do it, just everything that has ever happened that I've really, really wanted to happen in my life, I have seen it in my head forever. I dream it. I go to sleep thinking about it, and it's not like a Louis Vuitton purse. That's not it. It's being the first person on the mountain in high school in a climb that we did. It's watching my wedding day the way I really, really wanted it to happen and seeing that take place. Just visualizing. I mean, some people think it's woo-woo, but I'm telling you, visualize what it is you want. Having my husband call me and say, babe, I just hired the person who's going to bring me home. That is the stuff that you have to believe in, and you can't ever give up. Don't settle, and just dream it and visualize it. That's all I can say.
No, it's very powerful, and it's scientifically proven. I'm big on getting the I like the stuff like visualization and overcoming self-limiting beliefs, but there is actually cold hard facts that visualization helps. In the 1980 Olympics, there were scientists that went out there, and the people that visualized 75% and did physical training 25% were the ones that actually outperformed the 25% visualization and 75% physical.
It's so true. I mean, the mind is absolutely huge. You can do so much with it. You can heal your body, and you can get to where you want to be just by believing it and visualizing. And I have to throw in there, for us too, we're spiritual. We believe in God, and He's, without Him, there's nowhere we'd be anywhere where we're at today. So.
Well, it has absolutely been my honor to be able to talk to you guys today, because if for nothing else, I leave these Solopreneur Spotlights feeling extremely inspired and extremely supported, and knowing that I'm exactly where I should be. And my takeaway from this interview has been to keep learning and to remember that your failures are never failures. They're building blocks to your success, and that's so important. And I just want to commend you both for doing such an amazing thing for children, and I hope that this raises awareness for your business. And I know that you guys have a special freebie that you offer on your website, and it's a good toolkit. So would you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so on EntrepreneurKidsAcademy.com, we give away the Business Idea Kickstarter for Kids. So if one of your kids is just thinking about, or is, like we were talking about earlier, one of those kids who is just always trying to do stuff, trying to sell stuff, doesn't fit the mold, the traditional mold at school, that kind of thing, just go get the Kickstarter and go through that, and go through it with your kids, and just come up with some ideas and try some stuff, and see if they pick up on that, see if it matches something that they want to do. And so that's really what the Kickstarter is designed for, is to come up with some ideas, try some stuff, and if that works for you, then we've got some other programs there too. But Kickstarter is really a great way to just test it out, try it.
And then on our blog, we have a lot of great resources there as well. Some, some Strength Finder, money management stuff, And then our daughter, our 10-year-old daughter, just started her very own podcast interviewing other entrepreneur kids.
Oh my God,
And
darling!
it's absolutely fabulous. It's so fun to watch, and her episodes are on the blog there as well, so they'll want to check that out.
Yeah.
Oh, that is fantastic. Well, I encourage everybody watching to please get in touch with Natalie and Mike and check out those offers and the blog and the podcast. I know that I will. Their website is going to be in the description of this video, and it's hyperlinked to make it easy for you. And we will also put their Facebook page in there. Is there any way else that people can get in touch with you that I haven't mentioned?
We are on Google+, we are on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Yeah, we're trying to be everywhere.
Fabulous. Well, we'll find their brand, Entrepreneur Kids Academy. This is Natalie and Mike Hixson. And like I said, I encourage you to please check them out. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
Thanks for having us on.
Yes. Well, thank you all for watching, and we will see you all on the next Solopreneur Spotlight.